And hello, it is Wednesday. It is time for ACIM Music and Meditation with Reverend Jim. And to those of you that are here, thank you. I did hear from a few people. They're not able to make it tonight. So we're going to go ahead with our program for this evening, and I sure hope you enjoy it. It is All is Well, God's Plan of Salvation, Part 2. And so I think you're going to enjoy the conclusion of this topic about why all is well. And the simple reason is it's part of God's plan of salvation. And I'll look forward to telling you more about that. Before we go on, though, I just wanted to announce, as I mentioned to you guys before the recording, that I'm going to have to reschedule our meeting next Wednesday and move it from Wednesday night to Thursday night. So instead of Wednesday, September 17th, we'll be meeting on Thursday, September 18th. So if that's, hopefully it's all right. Kathleen, you said you had a little issue with it. But before we go on, anything you want to announce or comment on or anything? All right. Well, you know what's next. Let's get ourselves ready to get into a meditative, contemplative state. I brought some setting the mood music for you tonight. It's going to run about 10 minutes. I hope you enjoy it, okay?
I, the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people cry, all who dwell in dark and sin, my hand will save. I who made the stars of night, I will make their darkness bright. Who will bear my light to them? Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. I, the Lord of wind and plain, I will tend the poor and lame. I will set a feast for them, my hand will save. Finest bread I will provide, till their hearts be satisfied. I will give my life to them. Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go,
So you getting ready?
Yeah,
All right. So the music okay?
good, very good.
Very good.
All right. We'll keep working on it then. As I mentioned before, this is part two of a topic we started last week. And the title is All is Well. But then there's another part to the title that starts to explain why. And the reason that all is well, if you believe A Course in Miracles, is because this thing called God's plan of salvation. You remember reading about that in the Course? It's mentioned many times. So, if you can understand this plan, and if you can get it in your mind in such a way that it sounds plausible, reasonable, miraculous, like something God would do, if you can embrace this understanding, it'll give you a lot of peace on a day-to-day basis, despite appearances. So, in part one of this discussion and reflection, the subtitle was called The Tiny Mad Idea. And it talked about what A Course in Miracles says happened that kind of apparently shook things up. But as we'll come to find out, it was all pre-planned. So last week, the title was The Tiny Mad Idea. And the subtitle for part two is The World is a Lesson. And I want to explain a bit more about that. If you're intrigued, let's start by reviewing what we talked about last week. Let me share screen to do that. We talked about this thing called the tiny mad idea. And hopefully, I know you can see that okay. Am I correct in that? You know what? Bear with me since, I'm becoming a YouTube expert and all of that. Yes, let me use a little different technique here so I can see you guys when we do this. Aha, that'll be better. So now let me pull this back up again and maybe put us up here at the top so we can see everybody. And I just want to briefly go over, this is not the exact chart. I just kind of made it briefer because it's a review tonight. So the title was The Tiny Mad Idea. Here's what A Course in Miracles says the whole problem is. First, there was reality or truth, and that was all came from this creator. You hear it called many names: God, Allah, the creator, divine mind, all that is, whatever you call it. Y'all know who I'm talking about, right? Or maybe I should say what I'm talking about, right? And so that was the original state. And then it seems this problem arose. It was this tiny mad idea that the Course describes. And the whole idea was that it was possible for the creation to separate itself from the Creator. And you'll hear it called the fall from grace, or how we now have separated or split minds instead of a whole mind. And I love the term separate heavens, because that was the goal, to be an individual, all autonomous in yourself. You didn't need the Creator anymore. You were as smart as the Creator. That's the way it created you. So what do you need the Creator for? You can go off and do your own thing. Is this making sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So God came up with a solution to this problem. It says that God made this thing called the Holy Spirit, or the voice for God, or the correction to the tiny mad idea. And what would happen is, even though we thought we separated, he made sure a part of the Creator's mind was in each separate piece. So we wanted to go off and have our own separate minds, but God wouldn't let us do that. He would not abandon us. So the solution was, even though you wanted to have your own separate mind, he still put his mind in there also. And the result is we ended up with two voices in our heads, two minds instead of one. One we call in the Course in Miracles the ego, that has a certain way of thinking and acting from separation. And the other voice, called the voice for God in A Course in Miracles, which says, no, you don't. You're not separate and alone. You're part of something bigger, something greater. That is how you were created, to be a part of something larger. So that's a short summary of the tiny mad idea and God's solution to correct it. But I know inquisitive minds like yours want to know, but why? I mean, why did all this happen in the first place? I mean, was it at random? All of a sudden, the kids thought they had a tiny mad idea. What made that come about? What was its cause? Was it really pre-planned? And we ended last week by saying, join us next week for Why All Is Well, Part 2. And so here we are in Part 2. And in Part 2, we want to address this question. Why? Why did this tiny mad idea come about in the first place? And I thought that's something you might be interested in. Are you?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I brought, in order to try and answer that question, it's a considerable amount of reading here. I think there are about 10 paragraphs, but I want to give it a go, okay? Why All Is Well, God's Plan of Salvation. And it's an excerpt from my book. It's called Earth School, Why We Think We're Here.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just read this excerpt and hopefully get you to read some of it along with me. We'll read it and discuss it and see if it helps to answer this question, why? So I just pulled this excerpt and I start out by saying, okay, I think we're ready to get back to our discussion of God's plan of salvation. To begin, let's focus on just two of the omni words, omniscient, all-knowing, and omnipotent, all-powerful. Now, what does omni mean? Okay, I didn't pull that into this excerpt, but if you look up the prefix omni in the dictionary, it means all, total, complete. Now, all, total, and complete simply says there is nothing else. So if you're omnipotent, do you know all powerful? If you're omnipotent, it means there is no other power. You can make up a power, but there is no other real power. Omniscient means all-knowing. Everything knowable is known by this creator. By the way, that last omni word is omnipresent, right? Everywhere at once. There's no place real that this creator is not. So do you see what I was talking about earlier? And now to get back to our point here, it says, let's just focus on two of the omni words, omniscient, all-knowing, and omnipotent, all-powerful. Next, let's apply these words to that famous line in the Course in Miracles, the tiny mad idea that talks about the event that supposedly began our imaginary separation from God. And here's this famous line. You probably have heard it before. It says, into eternity where all is one, there crept a tiny mad idea at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. In his forgetting to laugh, right, did the thought become a serious idea and possible of both accomplishments and real effects. I have a couple of questions for you. If God is omniscient, that means all-knowing, right?
Yeah.
How could God not know his kids would have a tiny mad idea? And if God is omnipotent, that means all, total, complete power. How could the kids have even had the tiny mad idea without God's power permitting it? Comments before we go on. Are those fair questions at this point?
Mhm.
Anybody else? Thanks, Kathleen. Okay. I haven't left y'all speechless, Sherilyn and Joan, yet, have I? Already?
No.
We're just getting started, okay? So then I said, now let's see if we can start putting these things together to really understand God's plan of salvation. I like to share a simple but profoundly insightful analogy with you, one that I was taught several years ago. It's called From the Light to the Darkness, Back to the Light. So would someone help me out? Maybe read a couple of paragraphs describing this analogy from light to darkness? Somebody?
Sure. First, picture salvation as a journey around an imaginary circle. The top of the circle is labeled the light, with the circumference around the circle representing varying degrees of darkness. With these things in mind, imagine that God's plan of salvation is analogous to our passage around the circle. Next, notice the darkest point at the bottom of the circle. But you see that because the journey is circular, the darkest point isn't as dark as one might at first think. You can see the darkest point ends up being the catalyst for the ascent back to the top. The point I hope I'm making is that deep darkness at the bottom isn't a bad thing. In fact, it's a good thing, because in truth, in the culmination of a deep lesson, one that rekindles the desire to return to the light at the top.
So let's stop here a minute and see if we're on the same page. Do you see, you've got this picture, right? At the top of the circle is the light. And then it gets darker and darker, like 1 o'clock, and 2 o'clock is even darker, and then 5, and then 6 o'clock is like the deep dark, the darkest of the darks. Because after that, things start coming back around to the light, don't they? Yes?
Yes.
Have you ever heard the expression, it's always darkest before what?
The dawn.
Dawn.
Do you see it's the same description, isn't it? So what you think is darkness may not be as dark as you think, because it's the harbinger of light. Who wants to? Is that okay? You with me so far?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else, would you do the? Oh no, as a matter of fact, Kathleen, do one more. I think that'll even things out.
Sure. Do you see where I'm going with this? The journey around the imaginary circle is a metaphor for us, and our adventure in this imaginary world are a lesson designed and inspired by God. The real reason for our dream journey is educational. It is the activity of God's plan of salvation. We are experiencing a simulated real-time repudiation of the tiny mad idea of separation, so we can see for ourselves that it is a mistake.
Is that? Do you see what I mean? Why is it important that we see that for ourselves? Because we have to, in order to correct it, remember we have free will, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it isn't enough for God to know it. His creation, which was endowed lovingly with free will, I can't just tell them and oppress them to make them stay home. I have to let them figure out that they want to be home. Sometimes the best way to let you know where you want to be is to let you experience what it's like not to be there. You see what I'm saying? It's really a lesson that, do you remember in that story of the prodigal son? And the son came up to his father and said, Father, give me my inheritance. I think my happiness lies in a faraway land. How come his father didn't try and stop him? He just said, okay, didn't he?
Mhm.
You know why his father said okay? Because it was his father's idea in the first place. It was a lesson, a teaching. Let's continue. Um, I don't know. I'm looking at Joan. Would you do the next few here? We're getting near the end.
Mhm. That's what love would do, right? Isn't that how love for God would handle the tiny mad idea? Love wouldn't just make his kids stay in heaven when they thought there could be somewhere else. Love would let them be free to choose for themselves where they wanted to be. But don't forget another really important point about our trip. Let's remember that the journey is imaginary. It's taking place in a dream. So, despite the seeming harshness of some of the experiences, we're always safe. As the Course states, we're at home in God, dreaming of exile. In truth, no bones are ever broken, nobody really gets hurt, and nobody ever dies because it's a dream. Nothing at all can really happen except Earth School, the place where we learn all important lessons about the benefits of light versus darkness, truth versus illusions, and love versus fear.
And one more, Joan, please.
Let's close our discussion about the imaginary circle with the question: what's the difference between the first time we're in the light and when we return after experiencing the darkness? Well, it's a no-brainer, right? After experiencing the darkness of separation, instead of just wondering about it, we'd all choose the light every time, not because it made us, but because of the freedom he lovingly extends by allowing us to make this choice ourselves, all within the safe environment of a dream. Knowing the inquisitive nature of our minds, our omnipotent and omniscient Father is allowing us to indulge our fantasies, to experience the tiny mad idea of separation, a reality of differences, a world containing both light and darkness, sanity and insanity, strength and weakness, a world of opposites where choices must continually be made and where life becomes a constant struggle.
Everybody with us so far? We
Mhm.
good?
Mhm.
I'm looking at how many here. Sherilyn, please, I think there are a couple more. So you
Okay,
read.
so there's nothing to fear, no need for despair. Despite its apparent immensity, this world, our whole crazy experience here, is in truth a teaching. It is God's way of providing us with wisdom commensurate with our omnipotent power. Salvation is when we learn for ourselves that only heaven exists at all, that heaven is, in fact, all there is. It is when we solve the paradox of our split minds by letting the unreal part go. Salvation is when we learn for ourselves that nothing real can be threatened, that there's nothing real to fear. And so we are saved by God's plan of salvation, His curriculum to lovingly teach us what we are by first letting us learn for ourselves what we are not. So sit back, relax as best you can, and enjoy the ride, the downs as well as the ups. Everything's always perfect when you understand the world's purpose. A world is a lesson taught in the safest place imaginable, the dream.
What do you think?
It's
Possible?
well stated.
Yeah. I've been doing a course a long time, diligently, because I'm a course teacher. And this is what I got out of it. You know
Good.
how the course is written? It just doesn't come out and say that all in a certain chapter. But after going it over, this is what I got out of it. Have you ever noticed, first of all, when you use a word like course, curriculum, lessons, what does that sound like to you?
Cool.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so what it's telling me is, Jim, keep your peace.
Mhm.
All things here are lessons because it is a classroom. What's the classroom for? Here.
Learning.
Mhm.
Now, interestingly enough, let's talk about it a few minutes. What is it the omniscient need to learn? What does omniscient mean?
God is all knowing.
So what is there to learn if you're omniscient? Nothing.
Okay.
The problem is you lost your omniscience when you got caught up in the tiny mad idea. Separation does not breed knowing everything, does it?
No.
How can the separate know all? So what we're going to do is to teach you some stuff, not to teach you what is new, but to bring you back to your original condition. Remember the tiny mad idea chart before the tiny mad idea? We were all knowing. But because of the idea of splitting up and being separate, we lost the capability of being able to see the big picture. And you say, okay, the Course says we're caught up in this crazy dream, an illusion, a nothingness. That's terrible, right? Is it? Or is a dream the safest place to learn these lessons? So, if you didn't notice, in my book, really kind of the title of the book, Earth School, Why We Think We're Here. We think we're here learning that separation does not work. What did the prodigal son learn?
There's no place like home.
All right. That's
Mhm.
from, it sounds like the Wizard of Oz. And specifically, he learned he did not like something else. The happiness he thought he saw in a faraway land was a myth, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Daddy could have told him that because his dad was smart, right?
Mhm.
Right.
But let me ask you, do your kids do what you say? They have to learn it for themselves.
Yeah. They have to reinterpret it into their own understanding so that they can live it.
And it doesn't come from talking, it comes from actually experiencing it.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
what God did on our behalf is to create an experience from nothing in order to simulate our desire to be separate. And then says, now, do you like it really? And what are we all saying at this point? No, I wish I could
Mhm.
get out of here, right? And so we're working our way out of it.
Yeah.
But God works in mysterious ways. Have you ever heard
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. It's what propels us to move forward.
Yes. Okay. And notice how loving the whole thing is. He never put us in any harm's way in truth. So, will that give you some peace a little bit? Just the possibility that we're carrying out this plan that goes from the light, the fall into the imaginary darkness, and all the darkness brings. And thankfully, when we've had enough, we can make a different choice. And when we've made that different choice, we'll say, I don't ever want to go back into that dark place again. Lessons learned. All right, that's my preposterous premise from A Course in Miracles. But do you see how benign the whole thing is?
Mm-hmm.
It's for my good. Listen, please keep in mind, you can have all the power in the world, but if you don't have wisdom, that same power will mess you up. So now we're going to have power and wisdom from the lessons we've learned. That's the speech for tonight. Let's do a bit of reflection on that, if you would, my friends. And then we'll call it an evening, okay?
Mhm.
From the light to the darkness, back to the light. One of my earliest spiritual teachers taught me about that. And I don't know, I'm just so fortunate to have run into some of the right people. From the darkness to the light, back to the, from the light to the darkness, back to the light. Forgive me. Here we go. So thank you all for coming out.
Thank
Kathleen
you.
had to leave. You're very welcome. But I hope you enjoyed the program tonight. And again, next week, we'll be meeting on Thursday instead of Wednesday. Join us if you can. By the way, our topic next Thursday is reflections on miracles. A Course in Miracles talks a lot about miracles. So next week, I thought maybe we could reflect on just what miracles are according to A Course in Miracles. And so I hope you can come out for that. By the way, as you can see, attendance is sparse here still sometimes. You have folks you think might be interested in joining us. Please see if you can tell them about us. Get them to come out and join us. We'd love to have them. Okay. Any final
Okay.
comments from you? Yeah, before we leave. Is this good for you?
Yeah, I like the music and the meditation. I almost wish that part was a little bit longer. I think there's real power in meditating as a group.
No. Well, listen, I'll take that into account and see if we can maybe shorten up some of the discussions even more, so we have a full time to let the music and meditation do its work. I think that's a great comment, Joan. Okay. All right. Well, I won't keep you longer, and I'll see you next Thursday, or hopefully even before that. All right.
Okay,
Send love
thank you
to
so
your
much,
Okay.
Jim.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Good night.